Welcome everyone, and welcome back to the Raising Special Needs Kids Quick Connecting Live series. My name is Brittany Miller, and I'm super excited to be back with you guys today. We have a really important topic to go over that many parents call into raising special kids with questions about. So I'm just going to get to it so we can go all over these procedural safeguards in special education. So if your child has an IEP, or are they in the special education process, if they're in that process, there are legal rights and responsibilities and protections that you have under IDEA. That is our federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that's special education federal law. And these are called procedural safeguards. If you've been in an IEP meeting or you're starting that process, every year they give parents this document and they expect you to go over it and understand it. And sometimes it's a little intimidating. The verbiage can be hard to understand and parents may not know what that means. So we felt it would be very timely with back to school season to go over each of these procedural safeguards quickly so families can have an understanding of what they mean and how it can help them better advocate for their child and understand the process for special education. So first up, like I said, you're going to get that procedural safeguards notice. So they must give you a written explanation of what these are. I'm going to go through each of them and describe them in detail, but families, you'll get them every year. Please read them over, call Raising Special Kids with your questions. We can explain them better for you. You'll also notice that on the cover page, usually there is our information there as the Parent Training Information Center for families raising children with disabilities. We are tasked with helping children in Arizona and their parents and families help with special education, coaching them on how to advocate for their child, explaining the process, all of that. So if you notice that, remember us as a resource. Next up, prior written notice. PWN, by the way, there's a lot of acronyms if you haven't noticed already in special education. PWN is very important. So the school must give you written notice if they're going to change anything in your child's special education experience. This includes if the school wants to deny or add services, and it must tell you why they're going to do that or why not. PWN is very important, so if the school tells you something, make sure you have it in writing in this document. Understandable language. When a school provides written notice, it must be in the language that's understandable to the public. The prior written notice and the procedural safeguards notice must be in the native language. That includes Braille. However, the IEP will be written in English and the IEP meeting will be translated for that parent if they don't speak English. Next up, informed consent. Before evaluating your child, the school must get your permission if it's that first time, that initial evaluation. So they will, if they decide, yes, we're going to proceed and do the special education evaluation for your child to see if they qualify for an IEP, they're going to give you a consent form to sign. And from that time, that timeline starts of that 60 days where they have time to get that evaluation done and then another 30 to develop the IEP. Now for reevaluation, something to remember is they can proceed without you. They don't have to have that consent form from the parent. That's something to remember. We get a lot of calls on this next one. So IEE, Independent Educational Evaluations. So if you disagree with the findings in your child's evaluation that the school provided or the eligibility category they fall under and you would like an outside perspective, you can request an independent educational evaluation. We request you do that in writing. Now the school doesn't have to do it. They have to consider your request, but it's not mandatory. But many school districts, if it's appropriate, will give permission for the parent to do that. If the school feels like their evaluation is sufficient, they could take you to due process, and we'll get into that a little bit later. However, if the school says, yes, okay, we will, at our expense, pay for this child to be evaluated by an outside provider, it's just like it sounds. The school, typically the district will have providers in the area that they've contracted with before, that they'll give you some suggestions and you make an appointment. Once you have those evaluations done, at that point you would schedule a meeting to meet with the team to go over those results. Now, the school doesn't have to agree with everything in the evaluation, but they do have to consider that information. This is a very common tool that families use, and of course, if you need help with us, please call us. Confidentiality of information. This is really important for obvious reasons. The school must protect your child's confidentiality. This includes personal information, their name, address, social security number, personal details. Now, there are a few exceptions. If you have questions about that, call us. We can go over that more. But essentially, they must keep your child's information private. Next up, access to educational records. This is another really important one. So you as a parent have the right to see and get an explanation of your child's records. Sometimes parents may want their comments on a situation put in there, or they may want to request to have that record changed, and you certainly have the right to do that. The school district doesn't have to. Obviously, it's case-by-case basis, but just know that that's something you can ask for, and you have a right to see those records. Parent participation. This is a big one. At Raising Special Kids, we're always telling families, you are an equal IEP team member. You are part of that process, and you have the right to attend those meetings and provide input, and you do have the right to call an IEP meeting at any time. Dispute resolution options. So, sometimes we do disagree with the school, or maybe us in the school disagree about, what's best for our child. So you do have some dispute resolution options, under procedural safeguards that you can exercise. First and foremost, at Raising Special Kids, we always coach families, really utilize those informal dispute resolution options first. We always teach collaboration. So, working with your child's team, scheduling a meeting, going up that chain of command, and really trying to figure out what the problem is and work together to find a solution. We always tell parents, it's okay to be firm, but be polite and collaborative. Sometimes, in some cases, however, though, more formal options are needed. Typically, the next one used is a state complaint. So this is something you can do through the Arizona Department of Education dispute resolution. You file a complaint. Typically, families will file this online. You can list your allegations, and we can help you more with this process if you're there. But it's usually based on the fact if your child is not receiving that free and appropriate public education that they are entitled to, like any other student at that school. A next option that you have, mediation. So this is optional. If the parent, again, goes to the Arizona Department of Education dispute resolution website and files for mediation, the school district will be contacted and they can agree yes or no if they want to go to mediation. However, it can be very effective if both parties agree, and it's a formal meeting where it kind of what it sounds like. A mediator comes and helps the school district and you come together to find a solution on whatever the problem is and resolve it at that meeting. So if you have additional questions about that, we can go over it, but it can be a very effective tool for families. Lastly is dispute resolution. So in some cases, it's necessary to have a legal proceeding. It starts with a written complaint and a hearing and a judge reviewing that information. It's kind of the last stop in dispute resolution options, but you have as a parent have a right to that. You also have a right to file an OCR complaint through the Office of Civil Rights if you feel that your child has been discriminated against based on their disability. This is another one we get questions about a lot. So discipline. So students with disabilities, they do have to follow their school district's discipline policies, just like their peers. However, if a student with a disability is suspended from up to 10 days, after the 10-day mark, there has to be a meeting called a manifestation determination meeting. And it sounds a little intimidating, but really it's a meeting with the IEP team, including you as a parent, to talk about, are these behaviors related to their disability? What's going on? Let's problem solve together. If it's shown that the behaviors are related to their disability, it is the school's responsibility to come up with some behavioral goals and a plan to help support that child. If you have additional questions, we have some great resources on our website. Hopefully we can get those in the comments. If you go to the Raising Special Kids website under education, there are the resources for informal discipline options. They're super helpful, parent-friendly language, and of course we're here for you if you have questions about that. To read in more detail about all of these procedural safeguards that I've gone over today, please head over to the Arizona Department of Education website. They have the procedural safeguards for our state. It's super important for you as a parent to be informed what they are so you know how to advocate for your child and be aware of the process. Another helpful resource I wanted to share is on the Raising Special Kids website. Again, in the education section, there is a really great, valuable resource called Traveling the Special Education Highway. Download it, read it, it's amazing, it's super helpful. I keep a copy at my desk every day helping families, but it explains a lot of what we talked about today and more in easy to understand language, so you feel confident when you're going to those IEP meetings and talking to the school team. Parents, if you need help with your child's special education experience, we are here for you, especially in this back to school season. Please call us. We'll get our contact information in the comments. Our number is 602-242-4366. If you have questions about your child's IEP, you have additional questions about some of these procedural safeguards and what advice on what to do, we are here for you. We also encourage you to take one of our IEP trainings. We have another one at the end of this month, so we'll make sure that we put our class calendar in the comments. We do them monthly. They're free for families, very informative. If you haven't taken one already, please sign up today. And with that, we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.